Not yet. We will be, though. Not that often, I wouldn't think. Lake Cumberland Sports Coaches Preview Show. I'm Josh McKinney alongside Southwestern head coach Jason Foley. Coach, it's great to see you, my friend.
I'm glad to be here.
We certainly appreciate the time, as always, and a big thank you to Buffalo Wings and Rings for hosting our annual Coaches Preview Show once again this year. Coach, let's get into it. I got so many questions to ask you. 7-6 last year, district champs, region runner-ups, all of that, my friend, after starting 2-5. You started 2-5 and then went on a 5-game winning streak. I told you this often last year, and I'm going to tell you starting this season, that was an incredible run. That was reinvigorating to Warrior Nation. That was an incredible season last year. And it was 7-6.
Yeah, well, you're right. It was a roller coaster.
It was.
But you always want to finish strong.
Absolutely.
And that's the goal, I think, every season that you go into is how do you finish? And I just can't say enough about those kids last year. We faced a lot of adversity.
You did.
Early in the year, it just, new coach, new system, both offensively, defensively. And then on top of that, we had a lot of injuries last year.
Absolutely.
And, you don't try to make excuses and things, but I think at one point by the Wayne County game, I think 8 of our 11 starters were out on defense.
Yeah.
And it gave our young kids a lot of experience. But we got healthy. Kids got used to our system, and they just made an incredible run. They worked hard, just got better and better and better, and we got to peaking right at the right time.
It will be I remember interviewing you after the Whitley County game, and what happened that Whitley County game was absolutely incredible. What happened with when the trophy was awarded, your Warriors chanting your name at the end of that game last year. I remember asking you about that, and when this is all said and done for me, that will be a memory that I will remember forever because this is almost 20 years of me doing this. I have never heard a team do that. Never heard a team do that.
It was a cool thing, and
it had to have been.
Something that I won't forget either, and it just shows that they bought in and what we were doing, and they really, I think at first, anytime you have a new coach, especially with the seniors, it's different and it's new. And those seniors, at first they didn't know, but then as they started seeing our success, they believed. Mm-hmm. And by the end, we were just a team, we were a brotherhood, and we were hitting on all cylinders. And like I said, that was special. We had some special wins, but that Whitley County game there at the end, that kind of put the icing on the cake for us to win that district championship.
Of course, you mentioned the special wins. You get your first win at Southwestern, at Madison Southern, in a game you were talking about all the injuries. Your ball club looked like a 2A team that night because there were so many injuries. Then you start that 5-game winning streak with a win on the road at South Laurel. It's never easy to win east of 75. And then you get Pulaski not once but twice. I don't know if it's in the fine print or not, but I'm sure it probably is in your contract. Kind of like to beat PC at Southwestern.
Well, yeah, you always want to try to beat them. That's it's a crosstown rival, and I know Pulaski and Southwestern for years have had some great teams, and they've had some big battles, and that was special. I think, like you said, it all started there with South Laurel, and we come back and then played Pulaski, and kind of at that point we were starting to get our momentum going, and of course they had a great year. And it was a dogfight. It was an absolute battle, and we got them in overtime. And I think that's when our kids, really bought in at that point. Yeah. And they wanted that game, and they got it. And then we just built off that, beat Madison Central, come back in the playoffs, have to play Pulaski again at their place.
Yeah.
And another, tough game, and we're able to come out on top. And then, like you said, beat Whitley in the district title. And it was just a great run, and it was a lot of fun.
Heck of a first year.
Yeah, it was. I told people, I thought there at one point we were sitting at 2-5. I've been fortunate. I'd never had a losing season, as a head coach.
I remember you saying that, yeah.
And I thought, man, this may be it, but we got it going just in time. So
just in time. And I'm telling you, that's 7-6. You and I talked about this all last year, and not to keep dwelling on last year, but 7-6. And I'm this excited coming off a 7-6 season.
Yeah.
And you're this excited, 7-6. 7-6, that was incredible last year. Starting 2-5. It's amazing.
It was just a great turnaround. I think, very few people gave us a lot of hope there at one point, but we stuck together and, like I said, got through the adversity and got it done.
Of course, fell to Frederick Douglass, the eventual state runner-up in the region finals. And want to quote you in the Commonwealth Journal what you told Michael Childers, saying, quote, "It was a challenge because it was a new offense and defense, something you mentioned already. There's also a new staff, and it takes kids a while to get adjusted. On top of that, we were pummeled with injuries. It was an abnormal amount of injuries that we had. At one point, we had 8 starters on defense out a few games. It was a crazy time." That was indeed an absolute crazy time. Did that crazy time at that point help you deal with this COVID-19 craziness at all?
Well, you could look at it that way because, you never know as a coach, every year to year, you're always going to have some injuries. You're always going to have obstacles, whether it's rain, weather, different things. And for us to be able to overcome that, I think we did come together. A lot of our young kids got some great experience, and they got to be a part of that. And so, it definitely helped us. But I don't know if anybody can be prepared for what we've had to deal with the COVID, So it's a different time.
That's an excellent point, and that was one of the first things we talked about when you got here at Buffalo Wings and Rings. It's been crazy since March. It's changing by the day since March.
It is, and I've told several. It's day by day, week by week, and for us, we were rolling there from December to March. I put a lot of emphasis in my off season. And our kids had gotten stronger and faster, and it was discouraging and disappointing because we had to take that 2-month break then until June. And but I tell you what, our kids have came back with a vengeance, and they've been working, and they've really, in their mind, they've been preparing for Friday night, since June 15th.
And one of the things I love about you've got everything, you've got it all planned out to the T. And when that happened, how did that plan shift? And how did you get it down to a T in that 2-month time frame of, okay, we don't know what we're going to do, but this is what we can do? What could you do in that 2-month time frame?
Well, for us, we were really looking forward to spring football because, we lost 18 seniors last year, and so we have a great young group, and we wanted to see what they could do. And until you get in live action, you really don't know what they can do. They can look good in the weight room, and they can look good on the track, but until they get to popping pads, you don't know. But that was, when our spring practice got canceled, the only thing we really could do is, we could just encourage our kids to do things on their own there for those 2 months. Just work out on your own, get ready for when we come back. And I think a lot of our kids did work out. I think we saw videos and things that they were doing by themselves. But really, as coaches, we couldn't really communicate with them a whole lot unless we had them in class. So it made it tough at that point. But like I said, on June 15th, when we started our summer workouts, my goal was, let's get some of our strength back. Let's get in condition. Let's get some speed work in, and that's what we focused on there through the summer.
Really,
and we got a lot of it back.
That's a good thing. That's a really good thing. And my partner Michael Gregg, who is interviewing some of the Southwestern Warriors, who you brought with you, and thank you, by the way, for bringing those Warriors with you here this evening. He had some questions that he wanted me to ask of you because all the social distancing things and to do all that. How satisfying was it to face that adversity and overcome it in the way you did last season and, dealing with all the COVID things?
Well, going back to last season, I've been fortunate. My former school, we had won a district title and won a region championship. But I'll tell you what, when we won that first Pulaski game in the playoffs, and then we turned around and beat Whitley County, that was about as satisfying as winning a region championship.
Wow.
It really was. I mean, that was definitely my top 2 moments as a coach so far. But,
that's impressive.
But it was special, and just because I saw how much those kids came around, and how much they bought in, and to be able to overcome that adversity. Sometimes when you go through those failures and then get to success, that's the most rewarding time, And so it definitely was a great thing.
And I'm sure that success for the guys that are back this year, that success helped get through COVID, which is why they came back. The videos you saw, how impressed you were with their work ethic during COVID.
Right. And, I mean, they were hungry. They've been hungry.
That's
hungry.
Impressive.
They want to build on what we've started.
That's a good thing.
We definitely, as a staff, as players, we're not satisfied with just a district championship. We want to win a region. We want to, have an opportunity to play to go to Kroger Field, and that's our goal year in and year out. And I think that's their mindset right now.
Michael also wanted to know, and it's a great question, and you deal with players day in and day out. what was their mindset? What were you hearing from the players during COVID? What were their concerns? What were their, okay, this is what we're doing? How did they react to COVID?
Well, a lot of them was just wanting to know, Coach, are we going to get to have a football season?
I would imagine, yeah.
And
now, let's face it, about a month ago we didn't know.
Right, we didn't. I remember Dylan Asher, our senior, just asking our coaches, weekly, Coach, are we going to get to play? Are we going to get to play? And I think that was their biggest concern. Of course, they want normalcy too. I mean, I think they want to be back in school, and they want to do things to get back to normal life. The break's good for a short period of time.
Yeah, but so much is too much.
But when it starts affecting your social life and your sports and things, you feel so bad for those guys in the spring last year. And I just think they were just hoping that we'd get the opportunity, which we are. And, they're happy about that. And I think they were just like the rest of us. They didn't really know what to think.
And like you and I were talking earlier, since March, it's been a question mark since kind of March.
Right. Yeah. And I do want to, compliment the KHSAA, the coaches across the state. I think we've really rallied together. There's a Kentucky Football Coaches Association that's rallied and presented some things to Julian Tackett, which is our president of the KHSAA. And I think it's been very positive. We've really, worked our social distancing, our mask, and different things that we thought could help get high school football back going. And I do want to commend those guys for that.
And that has to be refreshing to have a leader that listens.
Right. And he's been very good about that.
He's
listened, and I think as an effect of that, we've been able to go. And I think, he presented some things to our governor and different people, and luckily we've been able to play. We're going to get to play.
Absolutely. Looking forward to Friday night. Before we get into that schedule, take us through the 2020 Southwestern Warriors, and as I mentioned, you can do it. You can do it by class. You can do it by offense. You can do it by defense. You can do it by who you're maddest at right now because of practice today. You can do it however you like to do it.
Well, you got to start with the senior class, and those seniors. We've got several. I think we've got around 18 seniors returning.
That's a good group.
And, a lot of them's got a lot of experience. They've played for 2 or 3 years now, and a lot of big names there in that group. Our junior class, again, a lot of sophomores last year that you saw that made some big impacts too. Mm-hmm. So that's a good group. I do want to say our freshman-sophomore class is our deepest classes.
Wow.
Very high number. Both of them's got around that 25 to 30 range.
Oh, that's good.
And just a lot of talent in those two classes. So I think the future is very bright at Southwestern, and I'm excited for the future. But going back to some of these guys, when you think about the seniors, Dylan Asher on the defensive line. He was an all-district player last year, a kid that I got out that hadn't been playing football. He came out last season.
That's incredible to me.
Yeah, and there's several kids that fortunately I was able to get out.
Good thing you did.
Yeah, I went in those hallways and talked to them and said, "Hey, you need to play football."
And that's what you said. I remember your introductory press conference. That's what you said. We've got to walk these halls and get these guys out.
You got to, because you never know how much a kid's going to develop in a year or two, or just that missing piece that you need, know. And we had several of those last year, and that's something I've always tried to do. I don't want to miss out on any kids in the school that's athletes or that could help our football team, and I try to go out and seek those guys, But Dylan just comes to mind because he came out and did that. Cody Harmon was out the entire season last year.
Yeah.
Started as a sophomore.
That's right.
And he's looked magnificent early on.
Has he really?
He's looking good. So, I think Friday nights you're going to see some things from him. That's very exciting. You got 2 kids that didn't get to play last year, Ethan Ware, Ian Ware. A lot of speed, those 2 provide. They play in the secondary for us. They're going to run the football, play in the slots. That's going to be an exciting crew there, with those 2 and just what they can do. Thinking about Rowan Pennington, of course, everybody knows Rowan. Rowan, if you think about Rowan, he was number 5 in 5A.
Look at that boy flexing. Ro Flexington.
The Ro Flex. Yeah.
Sorry to get you sidetracked.
You're good. He's a great leader.
He is.
And just a heck of a football player. And he's going to lead our defense this year. And very excited. Connor Crisp. That's a kid that suffered an injury, missed about 7 games last year. Good running back, good linebacker, good punter, and he's one of our fastest kids. He's going to make some plays, throughout the year. You're going to see a lot about him. Just thinking, I know I'm going to miss several because there's so many of them. But you think about our junior class. You've got kids like Gideon Brainerd and Mason Hibbard coming back, that was all district performers last year. Maddox Mink is emerging big time this year in that class. So we're excited to have him. John Poe returns on the offensive line. He's going to be big time for us. Kid that's new that came here, Matthew Loy. He's going to be playing guard for us, and he's one of our strongest kids. He's looking good up front right now. We got a kid named Alex Farler who plays wide receiver, defensive back. He's a tremendous athlete. He's been looking really good early on. And so Chandler Crabtree, who plays quarterback. Chandler last year, if you guys remember correctly, he got hurt in that scrimmage.
He did.
He was our quarterback going into the season.
That's right.
And he was injured and missed the entire year at the quarterback. Now, he was able to come back and play defensive back for us last year.
Gave you good minutes there, too, yeah.
He did. But he's had a good offseason. We're looking forward to what he can do this year. He's a good athlete, and I think can make some things happen. Like I said, going back to the junior class, you've got guys like Mason Hibbard, Tanner Wright. Tanner Wright has really emerged.
He came on like gangbusters late last year.
Tanner's a heck of a player. He's a running back. He's got vision, a lot of power, a lot of speed, and just a good every down back. And he's going to make plays. He's one of those that he rose in the big games last year too.
Oh yeah, big time.
Big time plays in that Whitley and Pulaski game especially. So we're excited to have him back in that junior class. Like I said, I've already mentioned Gideon. Gideon's a bulldozer.
Oh, my goodness. And,
I mean,
he trucked so many people last year. I mean, it was incredible.
And one thing about Gid, if Gid gets out in the open field, he's gone. And
he's sneaky fast.
When his head goes back, it's over. That's what we say. So he cocks the head back and goes.
We'll have to watch for that.
Yeah, we had a little inter squad scrimmage. And once his head goes back, you're not catching Gideon. So he's a great kid though, and a great player. Jason Adams returns there for us on the offensive line. He'll be helping. I've already mentioned Maddox Mink. Maddox is a young junior. We're really excited about what he can do this year.
Yeah.
I think he's got some things. And then, like I said, the sophomore and freshman class is deep. I mean, the sophomore class, you've got kids like Caden Hewitt, Brody Perkins. Caden being a wide receiver, 6'3", the sky's the limit for him. He's just a young pup right now, but he's getting better and better all the time. And then Brody Perkins plays tight end. Christian Kelly plays outside linebacker for us. Those two have looked phenomenal early on through our summer practices here so far. Some of the freshman kids, you got kids like Christian Wald and Lucas McKee, Colin Hibbard, Nico Pascarella, Caden Petrarca. And like I said, I can't list them all, but that's just kids, a lot of good kids in these upcoming classes, and we're excited about what they can do.
As I was telling you when you were telling me about the numbers at Southwestern, when you said it's in the mid-80s, it was 90-plus before COVID hit. I mean, that I don't remember numbers at Southwestern like that maybe ever.
Well, I had three main goals when I got hired here a year ago. First of all, I wanted to improve our strength and conditioning program.
They needed it, yeah.
I think, that was an area, in my opinion, that I thought we could improve on, and I think we've done that. Second thing, I wanted to get the numbers up, because at a 5A school, if you're going to go deep, you need the numbers for depth and just for building every year.
Preach.
And the third thing was I wanted to create more of a streamline with our middle school and youth league, and
that was much needed.
And we're still working on that right now.
It takes time. It does.
But that was the three main things, and I think we're well off to a good start in those three areas. But like you said, our numbers are great. We had 90 kids a couple weeks ago. We may have had 3 or 4 drop off, but we're in the mid-80s right now at least. And I think that bodes well for the future.
It absolutely does. It absolutely does. And you've successfully already put a check by each of those boxes, those things you wanted to accomplish. I know you're not done with them. No. Still a long way to go, still building, but you have addressed those already in year one, and that's big.
It's a process,
It is.
It's a process, and it takes a little time. It'll take us maybe 3 or 4 years to really get it going, but we're on a good start, for sure.
Of course, you mentioned we talked about the classes and how they broke down and the numbers of players offensively. Let's go to that side. You got Mason Hibbard coming back. You've got a stable of running backs. Your cup overfloweth at running back. I mean, my goodness.
Yeah, offensively, I think our running backs probably bring the most experience back.
I agree, yeah.
Connor Crisp, Gideon Brainerd, Tanner Wright, Ethan Ware, Ian Ware will take some handoffs in the backfield. Those 5 are pretty explosive.
Mm-hmm.
And then our wide receivers, you've got kids, like I said, Mason Hibbard, Caden Hewitt, Justin Vaught returns, Josh Walden, Dev Patel. A lot of good experience there. I think offensively, if there was one area maybe that's a big question mark right now, it would be our offensive line.
Yeah.
We lost 4 or 5 starters, but we've got some really good young kids coming on that offensive line. And I think the talent is just as good. I think it's just about experience right now with them. It's going to take us 2 or 3 games to get that experience under their belt. But I've already mentioned, Braden Myers, Tyler Russell, Maddox Meek, John Poe, Loy. Those 5 kids are really going to get it done, and they're young. And so we're excited about what they can do, and I think by the end of the season we can get them rolling, offensively.
Those guys are young, they're talented, and they're big.
They are, and they're getting stronger too. So
that's a good thing.
that's what we want. And
that's a real good thing. We're talking about Mason coming back and what he did for you at receiver last year and what he brings to the table. And of course, Chandler Crabtree, a quarterback this year. Mason made a catch last year that Greg and I looked at each other and we immediately thought of former Pulaski County Maroon Jake Johnson and the acrobatic catches that he made and the ability to concentrate on the football. He's a dimension at receiver that Southwestern hasn't had in a long, long time.
Yeah, Mason, he is deceptively good.
Oh, my goodness.
Because he's faster than he looks.
Absolutely.
Because he's so smooth when he runs. His instincts are second to none. He makes breaks offensively and defensively on the ball that you just can't teach, And I'll tell you this, he can play some quarterback too, and very well could see him back there some, Him and Crabtree are very interchangeable. They both can play quarterback and wide receiver, but he's looked good just wherever we've put him at this year, He's tremendous safety, but he's, like you said, a great wide receiver and can play some quarterback too. So we're excited. And, talking about the defense a little bit, we're excited about our defense.
You should be.
We lost 2 or 3, big kids. You can't replace an Austin Barnes.
You can't. No possible way. No. No.
Xavier Streeter, it was another
athletic.
And Mason Heath provided a big punch for us on that defensive line. But I tell you what, I know Coach Payne, Coach Mills, Coach Harp, but my defensive coaches, they're excited. I know when Coach Payne's not talking a lot, he's pretty excited, So he's kind of quiet right now, and I think he likes what he sees. And it may take us a few games, but I think by the mid-season, our defense can be really good. And we're going to be fast. Our secondary may be the strongest part of it, along with our defensive line. I think our linebackers are talented, but you got kids like Hagan Galloway, Christian Kelly, that's new. It's going to be sophomores, and it may take them a couple of games, but we believe in them, and I think they're going to be solid. I really believe that.
You mentioned the secondary, and I was telling Hibbert earlier this week, talking about that secondary, and years past, I remember this vividly, unfortunately, years past, that secondary for Southwestern has been a spot that can be exploited by opposing teams. This year, that is absolutely not the case. You've got more experience in your secondary than I ever remember at Southwestern.
We've got good experience there. Like I said, you've mentioned the Ware twins, Ian Ware, Ethan Ware, Mason Hibbard, Chandler Crabtree, Josh Walden returns. He was a starter last year. The J.J. Hutchinson's an up-and-coming sophomore that's been looking really good early on. Alex Farler, a kid that's also providing us a lot of depth there. And I'm sure I'm missing 1 or 2 more. Aiden Childers. There's several kids in that secondary that looks good right now. So we are deep there, and we're looking forward to what we can do. And what you can do when you've got a good secondary, it allows you to be a little more aggressive up front because you can depend on those guys to cover.
That's right.
So we feel good about that.
And just look what Dylan Asher did last year with a handful of sacks plus 1. And you found him walking the hallways.
Exactly. I did, Jadon Washington, another kid, a nose guard. Jadon maybe have the quickest first step of anybody you'll see around this region.
Wow.
Very quick, and he's looked good. So I think that front of Cody Harmon, Dylan Asher, Jadon Washington, and then you bring your substitutes in that can fill in for them, which is 4, 5, 6 guys. We can put some pressure on people.
That's impressive. That is quite impressive. And You mentioned that we talked about the offense and talked about the defense. Special teams is a integral part of it, and on special teams, you've got a big one to replace in Brainerd.
That's kind of underappreciated spot.
Oh my goodness! I'm telling you, what he did, it was crucial. What he did.
I tell people all the time, kicker and a center is, in my opinion, is the two most underappreciated spots in football.
That's a good point.
And we got to replace both. But Max was just tremendous. He had great leg strength. And so we're kind of working right now to see what the best strategic thing is to do with our kicking game. But we're working, and I think I'm pleased with what I'm seeing. It may not be exactly like last year, but we can still be successful, I think.
It's a good thing. You mentioned Coach Payne, and when Coach Payne is quiet, that means good things. So if Coach is talking, that means there's problems. I say all that to say you can't do it alone. You've got a great coaching staff.
I do. I feel really good about our coaching staff this year. We had several guys that's come back.
That's a good thing.
We've got a lot of new additions. My staff last year, guys like Mark Payne and Eric Minton and Matt Norris actually coached with me at my previous school, and when we came here, they joined me. Peyton Phelps on the offensive line.
He knows a thing or two.
He does. Ray Walton.
Yeah.
Tom Murphy, those guys have came on a lot of our offensive staff. And then defensively, you've got guys like Nick Mills and Cody Harp that's really helping us out to defensive line and defensive back. And then we've got a great JV staff this year. I'm really excited about that.
That's good.
We've been able to split our varsity and JV team, and Dwight Ingles, our head coach, a lot of experience in coaching. And Mark Cundiff's a new addition, linebackers. This year, and Tim Lloyd coaches our offensive and defensive line with that group. And then on our varsity level, we've added Tony Dixon. Tony Dixon, some of it played at UK.
That's right, yeah.
Running back, and he's been great so far. So really got a good coaching staff, and I think that's what it takes at 85, 90 kids. You got to have a good staff.
So what you're telling me is that you can set back a little bit more and kick your feet up a little bit more.
Well, no. I don't know about that, but it's not really in me to do that.
No, it's not.
But George Gregory's another one.
That's a good addition.
George Gregory coaches, helps us with our defensive backs, and he's another one that was great last year, and he's back with us again. So I really thank a lot of our staff and glad to have them.
You got a great staff, and they are very kind to us. And if we have a question or need something, they're so great to work with. They're a great group of guys. They really are. And taking that from your coaching staff to Southwestern Boosters, your athletic director, your principal. I know you're very appreciative of the Booster Club, of your AD, of your principal. It's nice to have all that support behind you and everything going in the right direction.
It is, and that was one thing that drew me at the very beginning when I had my interview process.
Did it?
Miss Ellis and Alex Eaton and, all the way up to Matt Cook and Pat Richardson. I felt a lot of support from them, and they've been great so far, and I do appreciate everything that they do.
It's a wonderful thing to everybody have the same vision and the same want, which is the benefit of the kids, and not taking shots but hitting it. Always been like that at Southwestern. I've been around it long enough to see that it hasn't always been like that.
Well, I've been around coaching a long time, and I've seen administrations and coaches get along, and I've seen administrations and coaches not. And when you're getting along, things are much more successful.
Makes your life a lot easier, doesn't it?
It does, and like I said, I'm fortunate. They're great. They're great to work for.
We like an easy life for Coach.
That's right. That's what we want.
Absolutely. Coach, of course, we talk about the 2020 season, which gets going in about 48 hours on Lake Cumberland Sports. Southwestern overall 176 and 137. And I'll credit Chili again for your numbers as a head coach, 31 and 12 overall. Your Warriors hit the road Friday night to tangle with Wayne County. And I say it every time I talk about Southwestern and Wayne County playing in football. I hope it continues year after year after year. I love that game between you two.
Well, it's a close in proximity.
Which is a good thing now.
Yes, very good thing. That's what you want. And, yes, Wayne County, Southwestern, no matter what sport it is, they've always had big-time games, rivalries. And I have a lot of respect for Wayne County. Coach Thompson does a great job over there, and he has for a long time. They had one of their best teams in school history last year, and they got one of their best coming back this year. And starts with Braden Sloan and Brody Weaver. And those two, 1-2 punch is about as good as you'll get around this area.
They're a solid group. They certainly are. That's a tough way to start.
I tell people, I don't know what I deserved. I got Belfry last year.
Yeah.
And now you get the best running back in the state the first game.
Here you go.
So, that's part of it, though. So we'll roll them up and go. So, but Braden's just You know,
My goodness. I mean,
he's special.
he's incredible.
He's special. You know, I played college running back myself, and so I kind of have a connection there with running backs. You know,
I would imagine.
I see that, you know, right out, and he's one of the best high school running backs I've ever seen.
I agree with that wholeheartedly.
I've seen some good ones. You know, I've seen Damian Harris.
Yep.
I would put him right there with any of them.
Yep, absolutely.
And what we've got to hope to do is, you're not going to stop a kid like that, but you've got to hope to slow him down.
Yep.
And, you know, that's our goal. We've got to rally to it and wrap up and tackle. You know,
of course, start season out on the road, then you come home for 2 games, George Rogers, Clark, and Knox Central. District slate begins on the road at North, on the road at Whitley, home versus South Laurel, and then Pulaski County looming on October 23rd, and Southwestern Pulaski County. What else needs to be said?
You don't have to say a whole lot with that.
You don't. I mean,
and you don't really have to say anything to the kids. You know, I think both ways. Kids are ready to go that
just
game.
Print it out and put it up on the board.
You know, I've been here in this area for, 13 years now.
You know.
And I hadn't been a head coach at the high school level until last year, but I had some coaches tell me, you'll see a level of play with these kids that you won't see all year until that game. You know,
that's right.
And it's true. I mean, they just get up for it, and both sides, you know, they get up for it, and it's just a great game. It's great for the community, too.
It is, and it's great to see that competition between your players and Maroon players, because once they take that jersey off, a lot of them are friends. A lot of them hang out together. I mean, that's the thing. You add Somerset into that too. I mean, we're all one big community, and it's great to see that level of competition. That I want to beat you, and I want to beat you again tomorrow. And let's go hang out at Buffalo Wings and Rings and get a burger after it's over with.
That's right, and that's what competition's all about, and that's what high school football is about. And as a coach, you love those games.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
I mean, you love it, and it's just the atmosphere and things, and so it's always a lot of fun for sure.
Of course, you wrapped up the regular season on the road at Madison Central, and then Paul Lawrence Dunbar. Overall, that's a good schedule. We're playing a couple 6As as well. I mean, you're not shy about doing that.
Yeah, we've got 3 6A schools on the schedule. GRC, George Rogers Clark, you mentioned Madison Central, and Paul Dunbar. Paul Dunbar was a late pickup.
Was it really?
The way the KHSA maneuvered our schedule around, we had an open week there at the end. And Dunbar, they had a week too, and I think preseason, them and GRC's both picked to win their district as 6A schools.
Wow.
So that's going to be challenging. You know, there's no cupcakes on this schedule.
No, not at all.
The district plays very strong, you know, with those teams of, you know, you've got Whitley County, who we had to play in the district title. Pulaski's always Pulaski, and then you've got South Laurel, and I think the sleeper is going to be North Laurel.
Yeah.
North Laurel is going to be really good this year. So, it's a very challenging schedule, but that's what gets you ready for the playoffs.
Absolutely. We saw that last year. The adversity you went through last year, you know, you got all of that transition out of the way of coaching staff, new system, guys know what to expect. You know, still dealing with the COVID thing, but that's something that everybody's kind of putting back on the shelf. Like, okay, this is a sense of normalcy. Friday Night Lights, let's roll.
That's right.
You know?
And we can only control what we can control, you know, and that's what I tell our boys all the time. You know, we're going to do everything we can. You know, we've broke up into groups. You know, we did our mask and everything that we've got to do, and we just got to take it day by day and assume that we're going to get to play football, you know, and that's what we're doing.
You know, speaking of that and everything that goes along with COVID, how does that change preparation as it pertains to going to the field on a Friday night? Does that change it drastically?
Not drastically, you know. I mean, of course, you've got to wear a mask on the bus.
Of course.
And probably locker rooms are going to be a minimum, you know. Water situation, we've got to plan that out. You know, you'll have to have your own individual bottles of water. And so there's a few small things, but our kids have really embraced it, and it's really not affected them too much, and I think they're going to be fine. You know, I think they will.
And not to keep going back to last year, but, you know, all the returning players from last year learned to be flexible, learned how to roll with the punches, because there were plenty of punches last year, plenty of injuries, plenty of things to deal with. You know, they dealt with that so well. I think that's helped them in this. And now it's like, okay, this is nothing. You know, we can keep it on.
And you can kind of see that in them.
Can you really?
I mean, you can see it. It just things don't faze them too much. You know, I mean, I remember last year, if we had a storm at practice time, it may just completely wipe out our practice, or it came a big shower. This year, they're kind of just rolling with the punches. You know, no matter what happens, they've been rolling with them, and so I've been pleased with that.
And see, that tells me even more how much of an impact and how much you have changed the Southwestern football culture in a year.
I've been pleased with the way things have came around with what I've wanted to come
That's a good
around.
thing.
And like I said, we're not 100% there yet, but we're getting there. And these kids have really been a big part of that, and I credit them to help turn it around.
And I was going to say, it's not all rainbows and unicorns. I'm sure there's things that you would like to see, players get better at, or things change. It's not all rainbows and unicorns, but I'm telling you, for the most part, I mean, you have definitely, without question, got it heading in the right direction.
Well, I'm a big believer, and I've said this for years, the process. I talk about the process.
You do, yeah.
And for me, it's just day by day. You got to take every day, and you've got to work as hard as you can and win the day. I tell them that all the time, win the day. And and at the end, the results will come what you want. And that's what our focus has been, and they're doing that.
You talk about win the day and taking it day by day. That's a perfect spot to wind us up. That's how you've been living. That's how you live every day. That's how everybody's been living since March, and that is a great way to get through it day by day, to keep that spirit up and to keep moving forward and doing the things that we need to do. That's an excellent point.
Yeah, I mean, you can only, like I said, for me, and I tell our boys this all the time. If you're going to do something, be your best at it. Give it 100%.
Well said.
And that's what we try to do, every day. So.
Coach, I tell you all the time how impressed I am with you, and I'll tell you, going into the last year, a new coach, everything going on, and me getting close to 20 years in this, it's kind of like, how much longer do I want to do this? I'm flat telling you, as long as you're here, I'm here, brother.
Well, you got to stay with us.
Dude,
now.
You got me.
we love your support. We appreciate your support, and you and Michael and everybody that supports Warrior Nation. We really do. And, yeah, you definitely got to stick around as long as I'm here.
I'm telling you. You got me hooked.
Hopefully we have a lot of good memories in the future.
And I was 7-6 last year, and you got me hooked.
It's just going to get better. So.
Oh, my goodness. Coach, we appreciate everything that you do for us. It is an absolute treat to call your friend and to get to call your ball games and watch the Warriors. Thank you for everything that you do for us. We're looking forward to following you every single week this year and looking for another big run and another big year.
Well, we're looking forward to it. And like I said, I want to thank all of Warrior Nation out there and thank Buffalo Wings and Rings for having us and Lake Cumberland Sports. We appreciate all that everyone does for us and just our community as a whole. We really appreciate it and look forward to a great season. I
do have to ask you, though, last we left at the end of last year, did you get in the woods in the off season?
A little bit, but it's hard for me because I'm always thinking about football. So
you never stop.
But I do some things on the side. I try to get out and get away occasionally when I get time. So.
Coach, good luck. We appreciate it, and we'll see you along the way.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Coach Jason Foley, Southwestern Warriors. It's the Lake Cumberland Sports High School Football Coaches Preview.